All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with Tom and you're here with George. Hello, George.
Hey, guys. How's everybody doing today?
Today was a green day. This was a roller coaster week. I'm telling you, this might have been one of the worst roller coaster weeks of all time. Yesterday, we had one of the weirdest daily candles and candle wicks of all time. So we're going to get into all that. We'll do all our normal charts. Almost all the Bitcoin miners have reported November, so we'll take a look at that. There's a few standout big winners, but November was a tough month with the difficulty level increasing. A lot of the Bitcoin miners struggled. So charts. Let's see. Let's start out. If everybody could do us a favor, we have 14 likes right now. We're going for 100 and then 200. We got there last week. If you could do us a huge favor and smash the like button, it helps the stream out in real time. And also, you can check out, if you haven't seen the marathon video, you can check that out. That one was seemed to be popular. And marathon has a lot going on right now. So what's happening with you, George? All right. Let me interrupt my own question. We got Midway, who is a member. Thank you for being a member, and thank you for the $10 super chat. Midway said, BitDeer wound up working out very well for me. It has 5 nice green weeks in a row. I took profits on 10% of my shares today for an 80+% gain, and I'll continue to hold the rest of a much larger move. So Midway, you've been talking about BitDeer for a while, and I plan on talking about them today because the move they've made compared to the other miners in the last few weeks is just staggering. They are destroying, including up 23, almost 24% today, and they were even higher than that at points in the day. So Midway, you have been right on BitDeer. Great call, and we'll see, because it seems I look at them and I look at their market cap, and I know they have big things coming, but I think it's evidence that there's other Bitcoin miners that are still underpriced dramatically, because I don't think BitDeer's done running either. Okay, George.
Yes.
How'd your week go? What's happening in your world?
Nothing really, just enjoying the week.
You got your XRP, you hold your XRP, you sell your XRP,
No, I didn't sell any. I've been DCAing in more time. I found some dry powder on the shelves and I had to deploy it. I deployed it all over the place. Very
nice. So George has been a little bit of a diverse portfolio of altcoins. He was going through them with me. I mean, they've just all gone, pretty much all of them went nuts. So that's been a really good.
And looking forward to 60 Minutes on Sunday. Should be a good show.
What's the deal?
This guy that works at a company called Ripple is going to be talking.
We got the CEO of Ripple coming on.
Yep. So Brad's going to be talking. Going to be interesting what happens. I think they're trying to suppress the price dramatically.
Well, I also have, I'm going to save this a teaser for later. One of your favorite topics that you talked about a lot, and a lot of people talked about. Oh, that's all just a conspiracy, but I got some evidence, some proof today that I'm going to show you. So that's a teaser for later.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I would be like 100% into crypto right now and out of any type of fiat holdings. And I'm almost am, by the way.
I'm going to do a requested poll about you, George.
Oh, poll. Should George take some profits?
So let's see what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know. Should I?
Well, we're going to find out what the people think. We got 42 likes now. Thank you, everybody that smashed the like button. If you just got here, or if you haven't smashed the like button, if you would be so kind, it does help the live stream out in real time big time, and it helps the channel out a lot. We're here every Friday. We have been for 4 years. We're here every Tuesday for our members. So special thank you to all of the members for that.
Yeah, that is a good question. When, Tom? When should George take profits? You're saying now?
I think now. Should George take profits? I should have said now.
Right. Well, I wouldn't do it until like late Saturday if I was going to do it. Maybe even Sunday morning. See, this is sorry to talk about the NFL, but this gives me hope that the Buffalo Bills can win.
Because anything can happen. Is this proving to you anything can happen?
Yes, anything can happen.
Well, you got two cities that are pretty happy right now. I mean, Detroit is 11-1, 12-1. Yeah. They've never even been to the Super Bowl. So they're very excited at their chances. Buffalo's never won a Super Bowl. They're very excited. We won't talk too much football for you guys. I know we'll try and stay on topic, but yes.
You bastards. 50-50, by the way.
Unbelievable.
You guys always get me. And everybody's doing it just to mess with me. If that one goes yes, I'm going no. I can hear you guys.
Well, I see Edmund said, and this has been his theme for some time now, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, and XRP. Very simple. So that's from Edmund, and Edmund did call the MicroStrategy call before this whole giant run took off. I did tell the members on Tuesday, but I'll let everybody know I finally, on the dip, I did finally open a MicroStrategy position. And I did get a chance. There was a second dip. I got a chance to buy the dip again. So 600% later, I've entered the trade. But it was a full 30% pullback from its peak of just last week. So I felt like, I did have a target number, and I've watched too many times, and I'll tell you the one I watched. I had a target number for Palantir, and my philosophy has always been there's so many stocks. If you miss one, you miss one. But I watched that thing run from, single digits to it's over $70, all because, I didn't want a dollar cost average down into a target number. I was waiting for that specific number. So I'm rethinking that strategy a little bit with MicroStrategy, because same type of thing happened. So, and I think there is a lot of upside. I think there's a lot more upside for Bitcoin, for all the Bitcoin miners. We did get a green day today, but you're going to see, I think the Bitcoin miners did not behave very well this week. Yesterday was ridiculous. If you were in the Bitcoin miners yesterday, I can tell you right now, and I don't have any statistics to back this up at all, but I can tell you, it is my guess that retail investors panic sold like crazy yesterday out of the Bitcoin miners. And the big money is just playing this so perfectly. It's not right. It's not right. But, we just need to understand it.
When do you think they'll finally take off, Tom?
The Bitcoin miners?
Yeah, because this is such a hard month.
I'm telling you, to me, when is this game going to end? Because you can see on the days that they have bad days, you can see, if you line up all the charts next to each other, which I look at, they simultaneously, there was in all night Wednesday night and all morning Tuesday morning, the Bitcoin miners were up big, pre-market, 10% more, some of them. And half an hour in, boom, every single one of them crashed simultaneously. Now, Bitcoin did later in the day really have a huge pullback. So the Bitcoin miners, after going from, which one was it? I dollar cost averaged into Marathon was up 10 or 11%, and it got to 0. So I said, you know what? I'm going to average in, because this is ridiculous. This is a 10% pullback for nothing. And it kept going. It went down to -5. So from up 10% to down 5%. And, you know, some of that in the later in the day was because Bitcoin had a flash crash. But most of that move, the first 10% was just on nothing. It was just on everybody short the Bitcoin miners. And you can look, one of the big tells is when you look at the volume. If by 10 or 10:30 in the morning, and I'm talking Eastern time, so a half an hour or 1 hour into the markets being open, if you've already reached the average daily volume for the day, then you know, like in every single Bitcoin miner, you know somebody came in and either did enough to no one's getting liquidated out of these right now. They're just selling. They're just short selling and getting people to panic sell their Bitcoin miners. That is my opinion. And then look at today. For most of today, so I'll tell you, this is a green board all the way across the board. Almost every single one of these finished way off of their high for the day. And I'm going to circle. In this area right here is where all the Bitcoin miners hit their high of the day. As soon as Bitcoin took off, boom, every single Bitcoin miner started going down. So, and it's not because people were selling their Bitcoin miners to buy Bitcoin. That's something else goes on here. It's going to last as long as it lasts, but you're going to see like everybody's getting a turn. We've already had now BitDeer's getting their turn now. That's the third Bitcoin miner that's, you know, had a huge run. And you're going to look at the year to date. This week's year to date chart is the best one all year. It's still nowhere near where it should be. In 2024, make no mistake, other than 3 or 4 Bitcoin miners, they just underperformed dramatically. I know we got a few weeks left, and I do think we should have a Christmas rally with the Bitcoin miners. That's my opinion. Obviously, not financial advice, especially if we have a rally with Bitcoin. And I see a lot of people. I think the consensus price target for Bitcoin. You want me to say what I think it is, or should we do a poll?
Do a poll. Don't.
Okay, so 50-50, George. No matter how many votes we got, we just popped to 51-49. I'll end it and let somebody win on that. Brett, thank you very much for the super chat. Extremely generous. Much appreciated. Tom, that ETH to Bitcoin pair trade at 0.03423 was a great spot to make more Bitcoin percent. So I know Brett was on here last week. I'm not sure if that was I know you left a super chat last week, and that may have been it. So, you know, Ethereum had a fantastic week. So we're going to look at all that too. We're going to look at what the ETFs did. We're going to look at what some of the altcoins did. But thank you very much, Brett. Much appreciated. Thanks for the note, and thanks for the super chat, and thanks for joining us on the channel. All right.
Are we going to talk Haktui?
I know that's the big thing. All right, we got Clive. I got to get to Clive with a super chat. Thank you, Clive, for being a member. Very much appreciated, and thank you, very generous super chat. Tom, I decided to rotate my entire position of 24 ETH into XRP, adding to my existing 120,000 XRP holdings. The confidence I have in this move is unwavering. So Clive, so we have a few members, and of course George, that have a super high level of conviction in XRP. So and there's more talk about XRP than almost anything else right now, and it does feel like it just has a lot more room left to the upside. It had a nice little pullback, so there was a buying opportunity, and you know it's going to have those. That's how all this works.
I'm going to tell you something. Now that I've like really tried to understand validators and nodes with all the different coins. First of all, one, it's very confusing. And two, it sucks the amount of money you make. It's the worst.
The being a validator?
Yes. I mean, I can't even understand it. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you go and spend $100,000 to go do validators for all these things, and you don't really make any money.
And I think you were telling me, and maybe I'm wrong, that on the XRP, you literally don't get paid anything.
You know what is amazing is how he set it up. He got all these schools to run it. It's amazing to me. And they got paid nothing. I need to do the 250. Sorry, I'm not at my, well, I'm in my real office. See, I'm in my real office.
And
if you can see all the poop there, you guys can see all the
so look behind the scenes for George.
There's all the poop.
And just want to follow up. Brett said that, that's the spot. It's going to 0.054. So if you look at his super chat, you'll see what he's talking about there. And then Brett disagrees with you guys. He says, I can't imagine buying XRP right now. Maybe it's going to get to $10. Regardless, it's a S coin.
Can you not say that word? Poop coin.
I think we can say that word. I just try to not do things that are going to get us shadow banned, etc., etc. All right, welcome to Talkin Investing.
Ricky!
So, Ricky, you want to take this one first, George?
Ricky! How and when do you see the Riot Bitfarms takeover ending? Question mark. And then Hawk Tui needs to talk to an attorney. Well, I mean, now let's see if you guys get this. Isn't this a classic pump and dump? I mean, this is what you expect with someone that says Hawk Tui.
I mean, it's clearly a meme coin situation. That's very funny, Sour Melon Gaming. And of course, thank you for being a member and the super chat as well. And as for the Riot Bitfarms takeover, I think that is going to linger and linger and linger. I think it will never happen. I am now convinced it will not ever happen. And I don't know how they're going to unwind themselves from that situation. It's killing both stocks. They don't have the liquidity to take out Bitfarms. And Brett is doing, I think, let me read it first, but I think he might be on the same page as me. Thank you very much, Brett, for the super chat. Tom, I added 100,000 shares of Bitfarms today. You gave me conviction. It looks like it's about to run. So I DCA'd into, I took 2 months off and didn't buy anything. And now I am back in buying. And I did also buy a bunch of Bitfarms, not as much as you did, but I added a little bit to my position just to round it up to the next round number. And because it's going to get its turn, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are mad at Ben. A lot of people are disappointed with what they're doing right now. But I just look back to 2022 and Marathon. They were missing and missing and missing. They were telling us things that weren't happening, and it seemed like nothing was ever going to happen. And the one thing I said, and I was super critical of them, so I'm not going to try and rewrite history. I was very critical of Marathon, but I did always put the caveat. If they end up doing what they say, they are going to be a monster. And that's what ended up happening. And I think Bitfarms is going to be late, but I think they're going to get their turn, and they are so, in my opinion, they are crazy underpriced. And I know I've been disappointed. Two reports ago, I was very disappointed. This last report that just came out, I thought was more like a C, not great stuff. But I think Bitfarms, I mean, they're a half or a quarter. They're a half or a third or a quarter or a fifth of the market cap of some companies that they mine as much or more Bitcoin than. They're an efficient Bitcoin miner. Operations was never their problem. No one's ever complained about Bitfarms' Bitcoin mining operations side of their business. They've lowered They've dramatically lowered their joules per terahash. So, they should be more and more profitable. So I'm with you on that, Brett. So, again, not financial advice, but I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait. It might be, the last one to get its turn, but I believe it's coming. And I think there's a solid floor, even if things go really wrong, somewhere around $1.70. There's a super solid floor for them. And I'm not saying we're going to revisit that. I don't think we will.
The only thing I get nervous about is that if Riot thinks that they can't do the deal, that they start to sell some of their position before the end of the year.
Well, and the other thing, so you're right. Between now and the end of the year, let me go to a chart so we can see this graphically here. I want to go year to date. Okay, so these are all the Bitcoin miners year to date through the end of the day today. So before I get to the good ones, there are two that we are in danger of people tax loss harvesting. Riot is red for the year. Bitfarms is red for the year. These are the two worst performers by far, right? Hive just went a little red. They've been hanging around 0. And then you get Marathon up 13%. But you could, so that would be my only worry. So it's a double worry from your perspective, George. Are they going to, is Riot going to dump? Bitfarms is already in last place. So are people going to tax loss harvest those losses? And is Riot going to do that and dump their shares? So I don't know. If all that happens and there's a short-term pullback, I'm buying it. So,
it'd be a really good way for them to get out, because this is going to be an unbelievable quarter for them. This quarter is going to be amazing for Riot.
For the quarter ended December 31st, 2024.
Yes.
That's right. That will be a great quarter for, for the companies that have a HODL position in particular. They're going to have, big numbers, which is another reason I will tell you, and we'll get to this later.
All right.
I think Marathon is undervalued, ridiculous. So more later on that. First, let's get to Sour Melon Gaming. Thank you very much for the super chat. On October 1st, Ben said, we remain on track to achieve 21 exahash. Ben needs to be held accountable. He clearly lied in hopes to pump Bitfarms and dilute more. So I'm not going to argue with that. It wasn't just October 1st. I don't know if that's the last time he said it, but it was with every single press release they put out. They continued to say, we are on track. We are on track for 21 exahash. We're on track, until all of a sudden, boom, they weren't. And it was, sometime, in the middle of 2025. So I get it, right? They didn't do what they said they were going to do. We don't like that. At one point, they weren't even giving us guidance as to when they were going to do it. We're starting to get a little more guidance on that. They did grow their exahash a little bit in November. We'll take a look at that as well. So I understand there's a difference between being mad at Ben and trying to figure out what the stock's going to do. I also think that, to George's point that he said many times, I feel like Ben, as a brand new CEO, to a certain extent, he's getting his strings pulled a little bit. Right. Obviously, that's just speculation on our part, but Brett, thank you very much again. Tom, I have 30,000 shares of CleanSpark, average $15. Would you move some of that in tomorrow? So I will tell you right now, thank you for asking that. Thanks for the super chat. You've named two of my three companies that I think in the short term are the most undervalued by far. So it's a hard question for me to answer there, because the ones that I think are just ridiculously undervalued, Iron is up 115% on the year. So they're starting to behave well, right? Having a year where you're up over 100%. I know they're not keeping up with Bitcoin, but that's good performance. They're hitting their all-time highs. But I still think when you compare their market cap to their peers, they're very undervalued. The other two that I think are crazy undervalued, CleanSpark has done nothing, but they've had every single report all year, in my opinion, has been a good report, and they're up 36%, drastically lagging their peers. And they're way, way off of their 2024 high. I'm not talking about their high from the last cycle. They were much higher than this. I'm going to go to the chart. Right, they were at almost 20. It looks like they got over almost to $25 back in March when Bitcoin was at 74,000. Well, Bitcoin's over 100,000 now. CleanSpark's done nothing but add another 10 exahash, gotten more efficient as a company. They mine the second most Bitcoin out of any Bitcoin miner, and it's not even close. So this is a company operating, in my opinion, on all cylinders, and yet they're way off of their 2024 high. Right? I get we're not back into the part of the cycle yet where we're going to reach the highs from the previous cycle. That takes a little while longer, but for them to have been higher this year, right? They were almost 40%. They're down almost 40%. So they've got a lot of room to run. So to me, Brett, you're asking about two of the three stocks that I'm adding to right now, and there's a fourth and a fifth. Bitfarms, I just added some to, and I opened a Microstrategy position. And there's another reason. I have an article that I'll go to that'll show you why I also felt it was time to open the Microstrategy. It is obviously much smaller than my other positions that I've been dollar cost averaging into for a while. So Brett, you're in pretty heavy into the Bitcoin miners, so you must be confident we got big moves coming. Let us know what your expectations are. When are you going to start getting out? What are people thinking? 2X's, 3X's, 4X's, 5X's? What's?
Tom, I'm 100% into Marathon. I moved everything else out and just said, that's the way to go, Marathon.
Well, here you go. I'll go to Marathon's chart, and it's a similar situation. Here you've got Marathon back in February. Right, I'll go the other way. Marathon needs to go up almost 30% just to get back to where they were in February of 2024. They've added 15 exahash since then. They mined 907 Bitcoin in November. So dramatically much more than even the second closest. They were up huge. They had the highest growth month over month in exahash. They had the highest growth month over month in the amount of Bitcoin that they mined. Also, by the way, they bought 6,000 Bitcoin and just borrowed another $1 billion, and they're probably going to buy 6,000 or 8,000 more Bitcoin. They're going to have about 40,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So if you look at the value of their Bitcoin versus their market cap, they're valuing the company at almost nothing. So I think Marathon, that's one of the reasons that I think Marathon is, I mentioned three that in the short term, I just think are undervalued. I am buying Bitfarms, but I think it could take a long while for that to get where it's going. But to me, how do you make sense that Marathon at 46 exahash and 907 Bitcoin mined, how can you make sense? How can you reconcile that this company isn't even back to where they were when in February, when Bitcoin was in the 60,000s?
Marathon cost to mine is the highest.
But they have the highest. So this is one of the things that I would say. And I have a chart. I will get this ready for the next live stream. CleanSpark talked about this on their conference call. And Marathon is doing something similar. And they actually just did a press release to continue this philosophy. Their cost per coin is higher because they have a lot of machines that still make money. So some companies have chosen to get rid of those machines. Right? Even the 19 XPs are still making money. Some companies have chose to take those offline and put new machines online. Well, Marathon and CleanSpark are keeping everything that makes money online. So it's bringing their gross profit percentage cost down. It's bringing their cost per coin on the average up. But what I'm looking at is in real dollars, how much gross profit are you making? The number one Bitcoin miner in the amount of gross profit is Marathon. The number two Bitcoin miner in the amount of gross profit that they make is CleanSpark. So they're 1 and 2. So yes, their gross profit percent is much less than, say, some companies like Cypher and Iron, but they make 3 or 4 times as much gross profit. So you need that gross profit to pay for overhead and show a profit and make money. So I support that decision. And Zach at CleanSpark talked about it. We're not going for vanity here. We're not trying to get to the lowest joules per terahash as a fleet, for bragging rights. We're trying to make the most money we can possibly make. I want to get to Brett, who just gave another super chat. Thank you very much. Brett said, appreciate you, Tom. You've done more than I could ask. I've been in Bitcoin since 2014. Wow. So you are an early adopter. This is my first cycle with the miners. I'll probably sell all of my miners around March. I don't want to round trip. So you're right. Unlike, Bitcoin, I think, is a long-term asset for a lot of people, and they're willing to sit through the winters because they know what's coming next. But the Bitcoin miners, I have an exit strategy for my Bitcoin miners as well. I'm not just going to, last time I got stuck with a lot more than I expected to because things ended. The handwriting was on the wall, and shame on me. So I got stuck with some, and I hope to not make the same mistake this time. But congratulations, Brett. It sounds like you're doing very well. We're almost to 100 likes. If you guys can smash the like button, we're at 89 likes. Let's try and get to 100. It's much appreciated.
Just so you know, Jeff, I have to approve your messages. And I suck. I know I do. I'm going to go cry, Tom. What am I going to do? Some guy doesn't like me on the internet.
Well, you can go cry in your bags of XRP money. All right. So let's get to, I got 100 things to get to. We're never going to get to all of them, but let me find something.
As you do that, Tom, the reason I went all into Marathon is because I figured I didn't have time to sit there and think about stocks anymore, and I just wanted to take and go into something that I just felt was a good opportunity to rise. So.
Doing a quick poll.
I mean, and the other thing is Marathon used to trade at like $80 freaking. I gotta think they get back up there. Thanks, Unmod Jeff.
And everyone's gonna say, well, they've diluted so much, and that is a fact. But you also have to look at a company, when they were at $83, they were a 4 or 5 exahash company. Now they're a 40 or 50 exahash company. So they've 10x'd their operations or more.
Illusion?
No, I'm just going to post just a quick poll. So those are 100,000. I put 100, 120, 130, 150. But Bitcoin price target by the end of the year. Where are we going to get to by the end of the year? And these numbers are obviously in thousands. And then I'll kind of let you know what I think and what the consensus has been, in the media and on social media. Sour Melon Gaming still holding 100K shares of Wolf at a cost basis of 61 cents. So congratulations, minting money on that. Never would have got here if Tom didn't talk sense into me 2.5 years ago. Also, what's your new Bitcoin cycle target? So I'll answer that right now. While we're talking about an end of the year target, I'll tell everybody. So I've been saying all along, about a year and a half ago, I picked a cycle top of $150,000 for Bitcoin. I now feel like that number is low. So, and I've heard a lot of numbers that are much, much, much higher. I think I'll officially raise my price target to 175,000. But I will tell you, most people, even me bumping that up to 175,000, most people's target is higher than that right now. And we'll see what you guys think. But it's a lot of things happened. A lot of things happened sooner than I thought they were going to happen. Let's be honest, this administration change a year and a half ago, I didn't know there was going to be big philosophical differences between the parties in the treatment towards Bitcoin. And, now we've got some appointments happening of some much more Bitcoin crypto friendly people. And, so there's a dozen other things make me feel like this cycle is going to go higher than I thought. It might go way higher than I thought. And we might start to get, here's the other thing that I'm going to say. I said this last time and I was completely wrong. I said this 4 years ago. I don't think we're going to have any more crypto winters, but I'm going to say it again with a lot more conviction. Now, what I will say is I think we're going to have bear markets. So, Bitcoin gets 30% pullbacks. We could even get 40% pullbacks. What I don't think is going to happen is a 75 to 85% pullback that lasts for a year. That's a crypto winter. Crypto winters we have really 3 bullish years in Bitcoin and 1 nightmare year in crypto. And I think that year is going to look more like a bear market than a crypto winter, in my opinion, because there's just the genie's out of the bottle. Adoption is happening, and it's just going to continue to happen. And people listen, BlackRock has over $50 billion of Bitcoin. They're not going to let that go down 80%. Obviously, under management. It's not their Bitcoin. So in Sour Melon Gaming, let me know what your price target is, and that'll be our next poll. So we got Bitcoin price target for this year, and we're getting a pretty good consensus. And it's the number that is out there that the media is talking about big time. $120,000. I've seen 10 different theories for why we're going to hit 120. Tom Lee is still out there saying 150. Listen, the way things have been running lately, I'm not going to rule anything out. The daily candles that we have seen in the last few weeks, we just got the biggest daily candle from a dollar standpoint in the history of Bitcoin, just a week ago. And so who knows what's ahead. But I do think, I agree with you guys, 58%. So a majority think we're going to get to 120,000 by the end of the year. And that's not too, that's 25 days from now. And I think that's going to happen. So everybody's very bullish right now. A lot of the longs, we just had a flash crash. The longs got liquidated in, not 10-figure money. And that is going to happen. But if we go to that, let me see if I can find that chart, because you really got to zoom in.
All right, welcome to
Talkin
Investing.
I think it was 3 minutes, right? If I go back to the 1-day chart, look at this candle, and you don't really get the proper perspective for just how from wick to wick. By the way, we got up to, on the Bitcoin, this is the TradingView Coinbase Bitcoin chart. We got up to exactly $104,000.00 on this chart on this day. But if you go from the top to the bottom of this one candle, I mean, that's $12,000 swing inside of 1 day. 6,000 up, 6,000 down. We ended up right back in the middle, almost not quite where we started. And today we went up. And then you go back here to the biggest candle in the history of Bitcoin. Not as a percentage. So as a percentage, there's lots of candles that are much bigger than this. But this was a 10.5% candle. This was an $8,400 candle. Right? And you've got one down here that was a $6,500 candle. That's one of the biggest ever. So, I mean, we're getting daily candles that are breaking records, weekly candles. Things are trending in the right direction. And you can see we had an ascending line of support, and we're other than remember, this was 3 minutes or less. So yes, we candle wicked below this, but even if I went to the 3-minute chart, I think this line holds. It definitely holds on the 5-minute chart. So, you know, this has been a really good, and I think, so we'll see. We'll see, but you guys seem pretty convinced at 120. Old Jock, member for 22 months, thank you very much. Iron to 50 exahash and unable to reduce their efficiency below their already market-beating 15 joules per terahash level. KR1 now at 89.5 with hodl equivalent of 102 plus staking 2. So Old Jock and I remind me that is somewhere, that's a European ticker, but I think it looks like, you've mentioned that several times, it looks like it's doing very well. I think there was a way, we found a way to trade that over the counter in the United States as well. Iron, I think, had a good news report, but I don't think it was an A, and I can go through that one as well. But I do think their December report is going to be an A. So I'm expecting a really good December report from Iron. Sour Melon Gaming is saying, Tom, my price target this cycle is 200 to 250,000. I think the move from 100 to 200 is going to be quicker than people think. So I cannot argue with that. I feel like I'm being conservative, and a lot of people are talking about 200, 250. I've seen people talking about 350 in this cycle. So, you never want to pick the biggest number you hear from anybody anywhere and have that be your target, but I do think we're going to go higher than I thought we were going to go, and this has been a nice cycle. Bitcoin miners haven't all participated, so let's go. Well, quickly, I just want to go to my MicroStrategy thing, then we'll go back to that year to date. So also, thank you guys. We're at 105 likes. So if you just joined us, or if you haven't smashed the like button, if you could, now we're going to try and go for 200. It would be much appreciated. So thank you for that. So I just opened a MicroStrategy, not financial advice. I'm just letting you guys know what I did. I've been resisting and resisting and resisting. Edmund, who's been a longtime member, has been pounding his fist. It's up 600% since he started recommending it. MicroStrategy looks poised to join influential NASDAQ 100 index. This is the Qs. So if MicroStrategy gets added into the Qs, this is going to have a very positive effect on their already, wildly successful stock. This would guarantee new money flowing into Michael Saylor's stock and would bring more Bitcoin into an important TradFi benchmark. MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor's Bitcoin Buying Corporation looks like it might get added to the NASDAQ 100 index, and therefore the $312 billion Invesco QQQ ETFs. So, I mean, the Qs are one of the monsters. And so, it's going to be in there, which means as the market goes up, they got to buy more. This would increase the index's exposure to Bitcoin. Membership would, quote, open up flows to a new class of investors that would not otherwise have singularly bought a stock like MicroStrategy on their own, one expert said. And I'll take it a step further. Investors that would have never bought a Bitcoin, right? And effectively, they're buying a proxy on Bitcoin now, but by buying the Qs. So I think this is not guaranteed, but it looks set up like it's going to happen. And so I think this is coming. So that's a nice catalyst, plus a 30% pullback. All those things together just felt like a good buying opportunity, in my opinion. So if I go back to the year to date, just to round things out, we're not quite to the end of the year. I thought every single one of these would be green by the end of the year. We only have 25 days left. Hive is 4% away. Riot and Bitfarms are failing. I do think this feud that they're having, I think it is no coincidence that these two are in a feud with each other and allocating time, energy, resources. Their overhead is going up with legal bills and time being wasted. So, and the market agrees because they're in second last and last place. So I'm not sure that these are going to get green. I hope they do by the end of 2024. I do think they'll both have a much better 2025. But what I wanted to point out, we're now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bitcoin miners that have more than doubled this year. So Bitcoin itself is up 142% year to date. So you would hope your Bitcoin miner would outperform. But remember, in 2023, the Bitcoin miners dramatically outperformed Bitcoin. They were up, most of these miners were up 3 or 4 or 5 or 600% last year. So, to be up 200% on top of your 400% that you were up last year, these have made gigantic moves from the bottom. So, there's a lot of these stocks doing better. Cypher now at 72%. Looks like it could join that list by the end of the year. And I still think Cleanspark could make a big move by the end of the year. I don't know who, what, why. I'm not sure why they're suppressing Cleanspark. Somebody's seeing a different picture than I am on this one, because to me, you're going to see a Q4 result. And obviously, we're not going to see that for 3 or 4 months, but that I think is going to be spectacular from Cleanspark. And if you think that one's going to be good, Marathon's going to make $1 billion in 1 quarter. Maybe significantly more depending on where Bitcoin goes. So that's 1 quarter. And they're up 13% on the year. So I think you're going to see some numbers that change the game for some of these that are lagging. And it does seem like these are going one at a time, because BitDeer is now up 113%. But if I go to this week, well, first let's go to last week. So this was not the week that ended this Friday. This is the week that ended last Friday. You can see BitDeer and Iron outperformed the field. BitDeer was up 24% the week then ending last Friday. Now, pile on top of that, they're up 47% this week. So all their move this year has been in the last, 2, 3, 4 weeks. I mean, the rest of this chart, Bitcoin's up 5%. You can see we've got the Bitcoin miners had to have this big green day today just to hang in there with Bitcoin, because Thursday was a ridiculous red day for the Bitcoin miners. I wish I would have saved Thursday, but I did save, Wednesday, everything seemed great. This is the roller coaster they're putting us on. So on Wednesday, you had Terawulf up over 11%, BitDeer up 8%, Hut 7.8%, Cypher 10%, Cleanspark 5%. So, big Bit Digital up 13%, Microstrategy up almost 9%. So Wednesday was fantastic. All of this got taken away pretty much on Thursday. So, you go from these wild highs to these wild lows. And now, we go back today where we're green across the board. And you've got a BitDeer up 23% on the day. Hut was up 9% on the day. Bitfarms was up 10% on the day. Bit Digital was up 9% on the day. Cleanspark 7.5%. Marathon 6.6%. At some point, these were up 10 or more percent on the day. And, even Riot was up over 10% on the day and it pulled back. Iron was up almost 9% on the day at the close. Core Scientific lagged today, but as oftentimes happens, if we go back to this chart, if we look at year to date, Core Scientific's up 206%. So sometimes on these big weeks, people rotate out into this stuff and it takes off. In this instance, it was BitDeer up 113% now. So, people aren't buying Core Scientific as much at a frenzied pace at the moment. But if you look at some of these market caps, like BitDeer is now a $3.5 billion market cap company. So as much as you may or may not like Bitfarms, Bitfarms is a $1 billion market cap company. BitDeer's market cap is 3.5 times Bitfarms. Bitfarms mines more Bitcoin than BitDeer does. Their cost per coin is lower. Now, they have different businesses. BitDeer does a bunch of other things, but these are two companies that in their own way, I think, should be in the same group, and one of them's market cap is 3.5 times the others. You know, and then you go to a company like Terawulf. So Terawulf is a $3 billion market cap. And I will tell you, I'm just going to show you. And listen, if you are in Terawulf and you've made money in Terawulf, congratulations. I am thrilled for you. This has nothing to do with, hopefully everybody's making money. But this is what I would like to point out. Terawulf's a $3 billion market cap company. If you take a look at what they've been doing as a company, in this time, they're doubling and tripling in their stock. If you look at Terawulf, in August, their production was down 6%. In September, their production was down 4%. In October, their production was down 15%. And now this month, November, their production is down 23%, the worst performer on the month. So they went from mining 184 Bitcoin in August. They're now mining 115 Bitcoin a month. This is not the trajectory of a company this is the number one performing Bitcoin mining stock. So this is why I'm saying, and I'm not bashing Terawulf and saying there's a bad company. They sold off some of their business. There's some reasons that their production is down. But, when you see, okay, this is the fourth month in a row and they're getting worse at an accelerated pace. And then you go, oh, by the way, it's the best performing Bitcoin miner, by a mile. Well, with that and Core Scientific. So to me, that's confusing. Having said that, I don't think Terawulf is going to pull back. I think it's going to keep going. I think others will catch up. So I think there may be more room to the upside in some of these others, but I don't think Terawulf's at its all-time high. I think they're going to keep going up. And I think you're going to see this turnaround. This trend is not going to continue all of 2025. They do have plans. They will get exahash back online. They've got AI, high-performance computing stuff coming. Some of those contracts are going to come in. So I understand there's a lot of good news ahead for Terawulf. There's a lot of good news ahead for Cypher and BitDeer. So some of these companies that may be underperforming as far as the number of Bitcoin they're mining, they do have some good things ahead, and I think they're getting priced into the stock. But, if you look at the standouts, there's a lot of marathon haters. Look at 907 Bitcoin. The next closest Bitcoin miner was CleanSpark at 622. And by the way, no one was even close to them. So CleanSpark is in a solid second. Marathon's production was up 26% in the month of November. The only other company that was even green, now Hive has not reported as of an hour ago. All right. The only other company that was even green, and they give no explanation whatsoever, so it's baffling to me. They did a monthly operational update, and it did not address this fact at all. Cypher was up 20% in production month over month. Now, it's only 200 Bitcoin, so, I understand they're still... So Cypher mines less Bitcoin than Bitfarms. So, if I were to go back here and go... Cypher, they're at 2.5, so they're 2.5 times the market cap of Bitfarms, and they mine less. And that's not, I understand, that's only one data point. So I get it. It's a lot more complicated than that. But I think it's one of the important data points. Old Jock, thank you for the super chat. Oh, for a job at the Microsoft vote count. So the odds went up a little bit. They were at 9% on Polymarket when we did our members only live stream. They've jumped up to 13% now for Microsoft to pass. And what Microsoft's management is saying is you don't need to do this. We're already looking at buying Bitcoin. So this doesn't need to pass. We're doing it anyway. But I don't buy that. If I would vote yes on this, I don't own any Microsoft, but it makes no sense when you got $75 billion, and that's about the least amount of money they've had on their balance sheet in years. It's still $75 billion. What's putting, 1 or 2% of that into Bitcoin? I mean, it just does. I can't understand why they wouldn't do that. And all of that is coming. What if they don't do it now? I can tell you this, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now, they're going to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And I know one of our members specifically said they do own Microsoft, and they will sell their shares if this gets voted down. Midway One is elaborating. So this is what I was alluding to. Midway One, who is a member, thanks for being a member, said Iron will be mining a lot more Bitcoin this month. November was going to be their less good month, the way the new exahash was being installed. So I'm going to go to that and show you what he's talking about, because that's right, and that's why I think Iron will have an A monthly operational report in November, and it is for this reason. If you look at their exahash. So if I highlight Iron here, you'll see month over month, they were actually down 14%. But that's about what happened. The difficulty level went up. You'll see there's a whole grouping here. Iron down 14%, Core Scientific down 15%, Bitfarms down 14%, BitDeer down 14%, Terawulf down 23%, BitDigital down 14%. So this was not an abnormal result. It looks a little abnormal when you say their exahash, they added 7 exahash in the month of November. They came into November with 21. They ended November with 28. But the thing is, they got that 7 exahash up and running in, just under the wire in the last few days of November. So they were not able to utilize this 7 exahash at all, really, in November. They should be able to utilize it in December. So I expect to see big results from them in December, and they've already told us this 28 will be 31 in their December operational report. So they're going to get to 31 exahash. That will be in 2 months, adding 10 exahash, 7 of which should be operational for the entire month. So I expect to see good things from them. Can they pass Riot? I don't know. That could be real close next month. Iron and Riot, I think, are going to start being very competitive as to the number of Bitcoin that they mine. I still think you're going to see Marathon be number 1 by a mile and CleanSpark be number 2 by a mile. I don't think anybody's catching them for a little while. If Iron does what they say they'll do, sometime in the next 6 months, they could easily catch up to CleanSpark and maybe even make a run at Marathon. They have big, big plans, but time will tell on that. And that's why I mentioned earlier there were 3 stocks that I think are undervalued, because when you look at all of that, Iron at 28 exahash and a huge amount of interest in companies, hyperscalers. I know a lot of people don't like that word, looking to get some AI contracts going. But if you look at them, well, they have actually run to a $3.3 billion market cap. So they're kind of in there. But we'll see where CleanSpark has gone. CleanSpark's at 4.3. The one that I would say they're out of whack with, Riot's at $4.3 billion market cap. Now, they have a lot of infrastructure. Riot's another one where if they get their act together and do everything right, this company could go bananas. But as it is right now, they just haven't really had, they haven't had everything fall together for them yet. And they are mired in this mess, in my opinion, with Bitfarms that was, maybe they knew something that I knew at some point, but it's my strong opinion that will not happen. It's $1 billion market cap. It's going to get sold at a premium. They're not going to dilute themselves, a couple of $1 billion to go buy a company. They can do it more cheaply. It will take longer, but they can do it themselves. They have a huge amount of their own infrastructure that they don't have machines on yet. So I don't think that's going to happen. That's my opinion.
Tom, I've been doing polls while you've been talking.
Oh, what are the people saying?
I did 2. First of all, the target price end of the year, 120,054%. And second was 100,000 at 19.
All right, so that was a runaway.
Yeah. The next one was return on Bitcoin miners. And I did 0 to 5, 10 to 15, 0 to 10, and 15% plus 1.
Oh, wow. I'm looking
Yeah.
at that result now. Won by a mile.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing.
So the power of it, let me throw a chart that goes along with that. This was the month of November. So Bitcoin was up 40% in November, but you can see, Bitfarms and Hive lagged behind, but BitDeer up 82%, Hut 75, Marathon up 70%, Iron almost 50%, CleanSpark 39. So it's been the last 5 weeks, have been very good. So that's great to see. I mean, this won by 15% or more, won by a mile. So that is great. Congratulations to everybody. This is when we should be making money. And if you're in the Bitcoin, if you're in Bitcoin, you've already should be up dramatically, depending on how you've dollar cost average in. If you're in the Bitcoin miners, some of them have taken a part of their run. Some of them haven't even gotten started yet. So, and we'll see. Are some of these, we've already narrowed this list down to 12 from 19, and there's like 25 publicly traded approximately. We're following the 12 big ones. Are some of these not going to succeed? Maybe one of these won't participate this time around. I don't know. I know the ones I have a high level of conviction in, but I don't own all 12 of these.
And then I did another quick poll, and if you're ready for another one, I can put it up. For the people that are over 15%, what percentage of them are members? 60%. That's not too bad.
Nice. So congratulations to the members and to everybody. Those are excellent returns. And by the way, congratulations. And it's about time, because I know most of the people that are experiencing that now had to show unusual patience to get to where we are. Even just as recently as days like yesterday. Like, I can tell you, yesterday was one of the most ludicrous days. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. All night I watched, because remember, Wednesday, for where I live, it was late Wednesday night. George and I were talking. Bitcoin went to 100,000. By the time we were done talking, I mean, we had a half an hour phone call, and by the time we were done talking, Bitcoin was at 104,000. So all the, on Robinhood, you can get a sneak peek. They trade some things. Marathon and Riot and Microstrategy all trade 24 hours a day on Robinhood internally. So they were all up 10% overnight. And then as soon as the market opened, boom, tanked, all of them red. So that's just manipulation. And it's not the first day. It's endless. But if this follows previous cycles, we're really still not to the point. We're just getting very close to the point where the Bitcoin miners start to make their run. So I do think the majority of that run is still ahead of us. That's just my opinion, obviously.
I'm looking at my return on my crypto just since the beginning of the year, and I'm up 41%. And this does not include my XRP, by the way. This is a different account.
That's your non-XRP account. I was going to say, because your XRP is gone.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not. I have 2 accounts.
Sour Melon Gaming is saying Riot and Bitfarms will lag this whole cycle. They both dug a hole they aren't going to get out of. Ben's a liar. Jason Less should be in prison. Harsh. That is the opinion of Sour Melon Gaming. Not a big fan of Ben and Jason. Listen, we just showed they're the 2 worst performing stocks on the year. And it's no coincidence that they're in a big fight with each other. I don't find the sense in it. I don't understand any of all that. And you could be right.
Listen to this one, though. In my XRP account, which I have XDC, XLM, Pepe, AEVR. I have just like tons of stuff. My overall time is up 177.51%.
Nice.
That's great.
And we haven't even, a lot of those haven't done their thing.
What's funny is people didn't know XTC would do anything. I bought XTC a long time ago, and I just today it went up 32%. And I think in the alt season, I think what's going to happen is they're just going to rotate into one and then out, rotate into another and out, rotate into another and out. They're just going to keep doing that.
So in my mind, if that's the way it's going to be, I feel like you got to pick 5 or 6 or 7 and just hold them and wait for them to take their turn. Very similar concept to what's happening to the Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
So, and I will tell you, Saruman Gaming, you might be right on Riot and Bitfarms, but I still am holding all of my bags on those. I think they are going to probably participate last, in my opinion, but I do think they're going to participate. So we'll see what happens. All right. Brett, thank you very much. Tom and George, buy some XMR. It's a sleeping giant. It's what we thought Bitcoin would be.
You know what's funny? There's a mold removal called XMR.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I don't know that one, so I will look it up. Well, let's just look it up right now. Thank you again, Brett. Much appreciated. And let's look this thing up.
Some of my best trades have been this. No, not really.
So let's go to a 1 month.
I don't know where you get it.
Okay, so we just had a nice pump here from 160 to 200. The market cap of this is 3.6 billion. So there's 2 different ways to look at this. This is not a $40 million one that could 1000x, but some of these 3.6 billions, a 10x would only make them $36 billion. There's going to be a lot of coins that have market caps higher than that by the end of alt season, right? There's going to be, probably another $1 trillion added into the altcoins this season. So, I don't know what you're looking for on this, Brett. Maybe you can give an indication where you think it's going, but 3.6 billion to 36 billion. If there's something, I know nothing about this coin and ecosystem, so I know nothing. But it's had a nice run, but it's not, this is not one of those, and I'll go further out and see if maybe it's, no. So, it's had a really nice run, but it's not one of those that's up 400%, so it's not like if you're looking at it, it's not like you've missed it. And this is one of the key things, and it's what I just kind of tried to teach myself with MicroStrategy. Instead of just belaboring the fact that I've missed a lot of the run, if you think there's a lot of the run left over, then, is it a good buy today? Forget what's already happened. Yes, it was a better buy a week ago. It was a much better buy a year ago. But is it a good buy today? And that should be the buying decision versus your other opportunities to buy other things, right? What are you getting the best bang for your buck for? And admin is saying, George, thanks for putting me on XRP. Average price 54 cents and have some XLM at 11 cents. So congratulations, admin. I got to tell you, your portfolio must look spectacular. And he's not making this up because Edmund's been letting us know for the last year or year and a half that he's been in MicroStrategy and XRP. So he's been on record.
It just makes you think of how, we had some really shitty streams. Sorry. I don't know if I can say that.
Well, people lost interest altogether in Bitcoin, certainly in the Bitcoin miners. And the interest is not really, we're just starting the tip of the iceberg on getting interest back into the Bitcoin miners. And I think you're going to see the FOMO when it hits. We're not quite there yet. Brett, thank you again.
Now you're talking about something I know.
It's a privacy coin. Once these guys get hit by the IRS audits, they'll be piling into this. Also, DERO is a gem. Pull it up and look. You know DERO, George?
Yeah. I was told that one's going to be, it's going to do very well. But for 1 year, it's down 60%.
So to me,
Look
that's
at the
a better
market cap.
opportunity.
Right.
So
The
now, now you've missed none of the run.
Right.
Right, and if it just gets back to where it was, I mean, this was at the beginning of this year. That's a 4x. I'm going to do a little more research, but I might just take a flyer on this one right here, just based on this right here.
I'm trying to find, I have a whole list of,
Thank you, Brett. Go ahead, George.
trying to find my list of the coins. We're going to talk crypto. You want to know why I got into crypto, Tom?
Yes.
Because I didn't want to cry. See, cry. And then it was, I'll be crying if I don't have crypto because it's paid time off. PTO, paid time off.
Crypto.
If you don't have it, you're going to cry. If you do have it, it's paid time off.
Brett, thank you again, sir. Brett said these will run in March or April. Look at the 5-year chart. This one's going to go to the max, but that's basically the 5-year chart. So, wow. So back in October and November, and that was right. That's when it's not just the crypto universe. That's when Bitcoin peaked. That's when the altcoins peaked. That's when the stock market peaked. November 2021 was the last peak. And, you know, you're talking about this thing was up at 25 bucks. So that's a monster. Thanks. Thank you for the heads up. So everybody, you know, do your own due diligence before you jump into something. But this one seems very interesting. And this looks like this is a small market cap. So, you know, you don't know where these can go. Right? There's room for this to do, you know, this is a 20x. There's room for this to do a lot more than that from a market cap standpoint. So, and again, I don't know anything about this one either, so please do your own due diligence, but these look like some very interesting ones.
Here, okay. Now we're going to talk.
Let's talk. What are we talking about?
Different coins to get into.
Oh, you got some coins that you're looking at?
Do you want them? I mean, I'll share this with you.
Yeah, throw a couple, you know, don't throw 100 out there, but give us what's your top 3 that, you know, are not the obvious ones that everybody talks about necessarily.
I mean, if you can, like layer 1, 2, or 3, you know what I mean?
Right.
So some good layer 2s. I mean, it's so hard off the cuff, but like some of these, not coin. Oh, that's already moved so much. You can't even. It's not woke coin. That's a go woke. That's the go woke is the name of it.
Go woke.
Yep.
That one's gonna.
And I'm not talking about like big money in them. Like I don't. This is the stuff I have in it. We took I took an investment, and I went in a whole bunch of different things. And it was a sizable amount of money, but the return. Okay, I shouldn't even tell you this. We anticipate the return to be in the millions, and it was less than 100,000. It was right around 100,000. And it's a whole bunch of coins. It's just some have a high risk, you know, and
so
some
it's a big portfolio of coins that you're looking at.
Let me copy this and I'll put it up to the members. If you guys are members and you're interested, I'll put it on the
put it in the Discord. Good call. Yeah, especially if it's a big list. That way they don't have to try and go one by one by one.
Yeah, it is. But I wasn't going to share this until we were closer.
Yeah, I think the time is here, right? Some of these have already started to run.
And you know, when I did this, remember you guys, I spoke about this in November. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm putting a large amount of money in, and this is what I'm doing. And it's a total gain, you know, which I expected to lose all of the money, by the way.
Yeah, it's like what you had a walking into the casino mentality. And, you know, I always tell people, you can go to the casino, and I do, and I have a lot, but however much money's in your pocket, you should expect it to be zero when you leave. So, and that doesn't mean you're going to lose every time. Lots of times you have big, great days. But if you're not willing for that number to be zero when you walk out the door, then you shouldn't walk in the door. That's my 2 cents on a casino. So it feels like you kind of went into this the same way, George.
Yep. Which brings me up to that time I was in the casino and I had a no-lose freaking hand, except a river rat of a 4. And the guy should have never been in. And I lost.
Those are the most frustrating ones when you're playing with somebody that just plays to the river no matter what. If there's one out in the deck, they'll wait for it, and sometimes they get it. All right, we got a bunch of stuff I haven't gotten to yet at all. We've been on. There's so much going on, but I will say thank you. We're at 140 likes. Thank you very much, everybody. If you have not yet, or if you just got here, if you would smash the like button, it does help the stream out a lot, and it is much appreciated. And just take a minute to thank all of our subscribers, and a special thanks, of course, to all of our members helping us do this and enjoying this journey, hopefully enjoying it. You know, this was a schizophrenic week. I showed you Wednesday, we had a huge green day, and then Thursday, Bitcoin took off and we had a huge red day with the Bitcoin miners. And now today, we had a nice green day. So at least we've had lately we've been having some Fridays where we finish the week, you know, decently nice green days. So that's a nice way to go into the weekend.
Okay, so this is what we anticipate getting the returns to be on this. I put it onto my computer. You ready?
Yes.
Over 5,000%.
5,000%. I'll take it.
I'm serious. That's isn't that crazy?
I'm going to have to check it out.
Like, for an example, remember I bought my insurance in BSV?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a 14. We expect that to be a 1,400%. Some of these are just stupid. Like eCash. Have anybody heard of eCash? XEC?
I don't know that one.
You get that on, and I have all the exchanges here too, guys, for you. But listen,
XEC?
Yeah, I don't even know if I should do. Should I do this?
The $1 billion market cap. What has it done for us lately? It looks like it's chugging along.
Okay, I bought this at 0.00003. It was a $600 investment.
So your 30 has gone to 54.
There you go.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's a nice return, and it may be just getting going. But this one's a smaller one. That's
right.
$1 billion.
And that's why I did $600. You know what I mean?
Right. And if it does what it's supposed to do, then you win. I see a lot of people asking, and I see Robert asking, why is HUT moving though? Operationally, they are terrible. So I want to get to HUT put out a press release this week that, in my opinion, is one of the most confusing press releases I've ever seen in my life. This company confuses me. I will say their stock is doing extremely well, especially they bottomed out after their merger, and I think they've pulled a quadruple since the bottom. So there may be people that have made an awful lot of money on HUT stock over the last, 6, 8, 10, 12 months. I don't totally understand their business. They've definitely moved way away. Here, let me go to this chart. if you look at HUT, they mined 94 Bitcoin. I mean, they're not a Bitcoin miner anymore. Now, they did just make a purchase order to buy 15 exahash, I think, of Bitcoin miners. They have options on a bunch more than that. So maybe they're going to get back into Bitcoin mining. But HUT used to be a company that was on par with these Marathon Clean. They were way bigger than CleanSpark at one point. Now CleanSpark's mining 622 Bitcoin and HUT's mining 94. So they've diversified. They have a lot of other streams of revenue. Bitcoin mining is by far not first on their list, but it does seem like they're turning their attention back to that. But none of that is what they put out in their press release. They put out this, what to me is an extremely mystifying press release, and their stock pumped huge on this. Hut 8 announces at the market and stock repurchase program. So I'm going to go to the SEC filing. Right, they file this with the SEC. Number one, a material definitive agreement. This is a $500 million at the market program, right? So what usually happens to these stocks when somebody puts one of these out? They crash. What happened to HUT yesterday? They went through the roof on a day that everything was getting killed. But what's more bizarre to me is, so they're gonna go sell $500 million of equity at the market. This item number one. Item number two, stock repurchase program. $250 million.
I got to sneak out, guys. I'll see you.
All right, George, have a great weekend.
You too. I'll put that up probably later this evening, guys. Thank you.
So it's a little more clear. The company launched a $250 million stock repurchase program with respect to the common stock. They're going to be buying. So which is it? Do you need to raise $500 million, or do you have extra money and you're buying back $250 million of stock? I don't understand a Bitcoin miner at this stage in Bitcoin mining cycle and Bitcoin. These are high capex, high growth companies. How are you going to allocate $250 million towards a stock repurchase program? Number one, especially after their stock has taken off so much. And number two, how are you going to do that when you're going to be issuing shares and then buying them back? Is there somebody that can put a comment in the chat that says why this makes sense? And there's some super complicated things if they wanted to get, maybe they wanted to get into some. Now, this specifically says they're going to buy back common stock. And this says common stock as well. So I don't even know if they can get involved. I do think they elaborate that maybe they can do some other, preferred stock or other types of stuff. And maybe they're just looking to switch. What I would do if I was these guys. So this makes no sense to me at all. I cannot understand this. A $250 million stock repurchase program. If they use if they use any of this, I will be surprised. That's my opinion. There's no sense to it. Especially, here's what they should do. My free advice, not financial advice, Hut 8, if you're listening. This is note 10 on their financial statements. They have $300 million in debt. And that debt ranges from 8% to 15.25%. So why would you buy back shares of your stock instead of paying down your 15%, your $80 million 15% interest promissory note? There is no logic to this. If somebody wants to explain this, it's mystifying to me. And this is the real part. This is like the icing on the cake. So I won't belabor it anymore, but I don't get it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I'm just going to do a quick poll. So I'm just saying, does it make sense to have an at-the-market offering? They have a $500 million at-the-market offering, and they have a $250 million stock buyback program. Meanwhile, they've got $300 million in anywhere from high to ultra high interest loans. That's my take on this. I don't get it. Maybe somebody's a lot smarter than me and they can tell me exactly what's happening here. But for me, I just don't get it. Looking if anybody in the comments, Robert Anderson said that's just stupid. Unmolded Jeff, wow, that makes no sense. So I don't get it. And here's what I really don't get. There's been a shift with the Bitcoin miners. They now have access to capital that they didn't have access to for a long time. So, for example, Marathon just did $850 million, and it's really $1 billion because they have this $150 million extra. So this is their second $1 billion. This is convertible debt, 0% interest, convertible debt due in the year 2031. They did this twice. So they've borrowed $2 billion in the last 3 weeks. Now they paid off a bunch of debt that had higher interest rates. So that makes sense to me. And then they're buying Bitcoin with this, right? By now, they reported 35,000 Bitcoin. By now, they probably have 40 or 45,000 Bitcoin because, they just got another $1 billion. So that's at 0% interest. But wait, there's more. Core Scientific. This is December 3rd. This is this week as well. Core Scientific prices upsized $550 million convertible senior note. This is at 0% interest. So $550 million at 0% interest due again in the year 2031. So there is a shift. We went through great pain as shareholders with these at-the-market offerings, right? These companies got diluted massively. Now, hopefully, a lot of them, in my opinion, use that money wisely, and they outpaced the growth of their company dramatically versus the amount of dilution they did to their company. So that's the winning formula to me. And there was no other money available to them. But you can see, and Zach said on the Cleanspark conference call, the floodgates have opened with money. There's access to money. With this administration change, there is now massive access to money. This, by the way, Microstrategy's been doing for the last couple of years, right? So this is their formula. Well, now the Bitcoin miners are doing it, and they're not the only ones. So we have also, let's see, there was a couple of more that did this. Thought I had all these open. Okay, Iron prices upsized $400 million. Again, this was yesterday. So this is all happening this week while Hut 8 just put that release out, I think yesterday or today. This is what their peers are doing. Iron priced upsized $400 million convertible note. So I talked on the members only stream. This was going to be a $300 million. I said it's going to get upsized. It's going to end up being more than that. And it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 5% interest. And it came in at 3.25% interest. So not quite as good. Marathon and Core Scientific are getting 0. But listen, convertible notes at 3.25% interest. We just looked at the notes on Hut's balance sheet. They have some at 15% interest, by the way, which was not abnormal. All the Bitcoin miners were borrowing money at 12%, 15%, 18%. In the previous cycle, that's the only money that was available to them. That's a disaster. And it ended up being a disaster for a lot of them. So this is the new formula. To me, I think you're going to see very few at the market offerings going forward. I think we now see, and also there's another one. So this was a few weeks ago now. This was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. BitDeer announces pricing of their $360 million convertible senior note plus the $40 million. This was a $400 million offering as well. Now, BitDeer is a Singapore company. They ended up at 5.25% interest, so they didn't get quite the deal that some of their peers did. But on the flip side of that, right, BitDeer was up 82% in November. It was up 47% this week. So, BitDeer's on fire. So, and this is just something they did a few weeks ago. And since they've done this, their stock has absolutely exploded. And they got 5.2. So that's the worst one out of all these is 5.25%. I think everybody will do better than that pretty much. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this. Robert Anderson is saying, so what do you guys think Cleanspark should do for funding? So does this make sense? So 32% of you feel like, yes, this does make sense to do both of these things. I would love if you guys could drop in the comments what the thought process would be to be issuing stock and buying back stock. Remember, Hut 8's a company that just did purchase orders for hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin miners. And they have options for, $1 billion more past that. So to me, I think Cleanspark should follow along with what all these other guys are doing. I think they should move away from their at the markets. Now, you want to be balanced on this, and you just, you don't want, this can't turn into a free-for-all. So I still think you want to be very, very mindful of your shareholders, whether you're getting this through convertible debt versus an at the market. You're still borrowing money. That money is someday potentially convertible into equity. So, I expect them to use it wisely, but I do think the next $500 million for Cleanspark, this is how I would do it. And Cleanspark's got a balance sheet that would warrant probably 0% interest. Maybe they'd have to pay 2 or 3%. My guess is it would be 0%. So that's what I would do if I were them. And that's what seems to be going on. A couple other quick things. Hive did have an announcement. They've been quiet for a long time. They announced a transformative acquisition of 8.6 exahash of Bitmain S21s. They're projecting to get to 15 exahash by the summer of 2025. So believe it or not, at 15 exahash, they will, out of the 12 that we're following, they'll still be in the bottom 3 in all likelihood as far as the amount of exahash they have online. However, this does scale them up in a way where I can see a path to success for them. They're a very efficient company. They keep a good control of their overhead. So, I think this could be a good thing. And Midway is saying the threat of a buyback might act as a deterrent to short sellers getting involved to try to suppress the stock price. So that's a good thought, Midway. I could accept that as a line of reasoning. If you're going to short our stock like crazy, we'll just buy it back from you. So we'll see what happens. We're going to have to wait for a quarter to see what they do with this $500 million at the market offering and $250 million share buyback program. we'll see how they progress. Maybe in the end, this will make sense in a way that I'm not really seeing off the bat.
All right.
Old Jock, thank you for being a member and thanks for the super chat. Fred Thiel is going to be a rag and bone man for Bitcoin miners. I mean, to me, I think you're going to see the best quarterly report any Bitcoin miner has ever had when Marathon does their Q4 period ended December 31st, 2024. So I expect that to be a big, they got a big bump when they switched accounting methodology to the new methodology, but this bump is going to be even bigger because they have substantially more Bitcoin and Bitcoin's gone up so much. So I really think you're going to see some big numbers out of Marathon. And that's why I think their stock has a lot more upside. That's just my opinion. So it's 6 o'clock. We didn't get to everything. Hopefully, let's take a look at Bitcoin. So we're kind of going sideways. We're holding 100,000. We're at $100,600 right now. So it would be nice to hold 100,000 over the weekend. If we could start to create 100,000 as a line of support, we did get, you'll see on the 1 day. Oh, get rid of that. I have a brand new line. Exactly, so you can, I don't know if you can read, it's a small number at the top. This got to exactly $104,000 a couple of days ago. That's the new all-time high. So we've set a series of all-time highs over the last month. So this has been a vicious run. We did vote, a majority voted. We think this is going to run to 120 by the end of the year. So let's see if we can hold 100 and then maybe take the next move up. So thank you, everybody, for the likes. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody made a bunch of money today, this week, this month, this year. So thanks again. Enjoy your weekend.